Okay, let's get started here with Fleets 2025. Hopefully I won't be coughing as much as I was in the intro. Sorry about that. Mainly because I won't be talking continuously, I think. So this is my initial setup. There's some significant amount of latitude as to what you can set up in this scenario. Let me speak it out. During a naval exercise off of Japan, a flight of Chinese J-113Cs, made-up unit of course, approached 25 miles of a U.S. carrier group and were intercepted by two U.S. F-35s. Reports are conflicting, but the PLAN aircraft were shot down and the Chinese immediately launched a retaliatory strike. So this is the setup. It doesn't, I don't think, specify, but I believe the aircraft start on board the carriers. Otherwise, the carriers would be pretty pointless here. The Chinese have a couple of air units down here on mainland China that they could use to intercept if things get close enough there. Remember though, they've got to stay within 4 or 6 hexes of an air base unless I start losing planes here on the carriers. Then they can serve as reserves. But otherwise, that's just an area that I pretty much want to stay out of China itself. The setup rules are, let me make sure. Yeah, the setup rules are basically the Chinese have to start west of this line. The U.S. has to start east of this line. I want to keep the U.S. as far as possible. They've got some reinforcements coming, but they're not standard reinforcements. Let me touch on that. Reinforcements in the standard game are just groups that are put here, and it costs you a hand size point to bring a group in, and it comes in hidden. Instead, in this case, these guys are going to come in on turn 3 at the beginning of the turn. They're just another reason the U.S. wants to avoid combat. Now, the U.S. actually really does want to avoid combat. The only goal in the base game for this, now some scenarios may change that, is to kill the enemy, right? Because you're filling up their political will chart until you get to their hand size. Well, unless you have some means of decreasing their hand size. Now, initially, the U.S. has a has a political will of 8 in this, whereas the Chinese only have a 6. And let's look at some of the rules. To begin with, we're going to play with the advanced rules, so units can go hidden. But at the beginning of the game, all units are going to be set up revealed at the beginning, and nothing is face down. Now, the reinforcements will come in face down, however. Nobody can enter a city, which are these dots here, or a hex adjacent to a city. There aren't a lot of them. It means no engagement near Taiwan. And not a big deal there, just some terrain effects, a big impassable block. The blue player has technical superiority. His search values are going to be less than or equal to the stealth rather than just strictly less than. The movement allowance of the unit. Here's the U.S. Late arrivals, which will be coming in on these hexes if they want. I set up within stacking limitations. I'm not sure that's required, but it seems advantageous because otherwise I won't be able to move the units, the entirety of the force in the stack. However, you can see some of those stacking limits are kind of weird. So here I've got 2 ships, but also a sub. Those are essentially different stacks in that one hex. It would be kind of neat if this had big hexes so that you could put the units in their separate stacks in a hex. You know, big enough that you could have the 3 different stacks that you can have. But it's not that big a deal. Let's see. Ongoing negotiations. At the beginning of each victory point step, after the first turn, both players are going to lose a point of political will. That puts a time limit on this, because eventually the political will is going to drop to the point where, in particular, if the Chinese are unable to force an engagement, they will lose because they have less will, unless, of course, the cards have some effect. And the activity card Jingoistic Fervor cannot be played as an event card. Okay. So, let's look at our sequence of play. There's no reinforcements. Movement. Red's going to go first. Let me look at their cards. They can't use these during movement. K29s, I don't think I have any of them. So that becomes just a card for points. I'm going to keep these guys face up, especially while I learn the game, because I'm not sure what's going to happen here. So I'll probably use that as a search or operations card. Scramble. Issue an order to each of your aircraft. That's kind of an interesting and powerful card, except I only really have 2 stacks of aircraft. So, yeah, with a 3-point card, I could move 3 stacks. More useful in a big game, so I'll put that over in the probably just using for points, more K29 reinforcement replacement points. The red up here indicates that only the Chinese can use this. It's pretty obvious with that card. It also says red player only on it. Local reinforcements. Lose a political will and return up to 3 units, excluding CVs, from your political will track. These return units come as reinforcements. Aircraft can be placed at either a friendly. That's a nice card. I'd kind of like to hold that if I can. Now, I think the way things are worded in the event phase thing is you're allowed to play one. You must play 1 card at that point. It can either be your first operation with, your first set of orders, or it can be an event. And other than that, you can hold your cards, it seems. Okay. At least that's my view of it. Let me take a look at how this is worded. Yeah, there's a couple of pages of examples here. And it looks like you do the entire action phase for blue, and then you do the entire action phase for red. That was something I was kind of a little unsure of from the reading, but again, and probably you can clear up any questions by looking at the example, but I don't like looking at examples. I think I've got the right answers here. Okay, so I'm on the red movement phase. They want to move all their units basically, and everything can move. We want to make some closing here. We'll get. Actually, we're at the beginning of the movement phase. This SSN can flip over, and if I can find one, I'll put another sub there. That was this stack. Anything else able to hide? I think the only other units able to hide are US units, right? The CGX, UCAF, yeah. Okay. So we're going to slip this sub into where we can get it hidden. I'm going to hold my carrier back just for protection. Means I obviously can't fly my planes out to hit. See, I could fly out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 hexes to here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Maybe get a strike on the U.S. if they come forward. But, and I have several operations, but you can only move each unit, you can only operate with each stack once in a turn. So if I was able to move and launch an attack with a second movement, I would not be in range of my airbase. So I'm going to hold off moving them at this point. That puts it to the US movement. Well, they want to hide. as best as they can. All I've got is this SSN I can hide. And I'll put another sub here. I don't know why I'm moving. I can't do this. I'm going to move the dummy here. I can't leave them stacked, or else I'll lose one. I don't think a dummy costs against my political will. Again, something I'm not absolutely certain of from my reading of the rules. It may be in there, but, you know, common sense dictates that that would not be the case. Okay, so for the U.S., got this stack and this stack. I'm going to try to flee. Kind of don't want to lose my units is the point that I've got. Although I do want to stay around here because otherwise some exposed stuff will come into play. And for my subs, I'll slide there, pretty common. Oh, I haven't looked at the US cards. I can return up to 2 UCAV units for the political will. That's kind of cool. To friendly air bases or carriers. And then I issue an order to each one, get a free draw. That's kind of a nice card. I'm quite possibly going to use that. This one is just for points because it's red. Just for points, because or for search and destroy. Jingoistic Fervor, that's denied for the game, so that's just for cards. Damage control. Remove a damage card from up to 2 of your ship and or submarine units. That looks interesting too. All right, so now we're at the action phase, and I'm allowed to conduct searches. Let's see what my requirements for search are. Can I just search at random? And not that I terribly want to. Searching for those subs, they're probably going to hide. I'm trying to see my range. I've kind of pulled away from the Chinese, so yeah, it looks like you know, with satellite effects, etc., searches can be anywhere on the board. Now, for events, after all his desires, he must select and play a card from his hand if he has one and place it face up. It must be either an event or to issue orders. I don't have an event I terribly want to play. What I'm going to do is I'm going to play this 2-point card and activate my 2 sub-hexes. I don't know. I don't think I have to declare them at first, but I'm going to move those. Now, I could turn them to remind me, gee, I've moved those units in case I want to move other things. But I don't know if I particularly want to get the rest of my units too far out of the way. Another 2 points could move these 2 stacks. I could launch my planes, but that doesn't do me a lot, does it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You know, I should have launched them during movement. I could make a strike. Yeah, why don't I go back and have done that? I'm allowed 3 planes and a hex. These guys were here, 1, 2, 3, 4. They'll be out here. That allows me now to play a 3-point card as an additional. These guys like hitting planes. These guys are particularly good at avoiding planes. I'm going to try to pick off that sub while it's visible. Alright. So here's the problem. I got to wait 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. See, I got to be within 6 of that. Yeah, I'm just going to land again. I don't see any real purpose in trying to launch an attack because I won't be able to come back. I could go land in Japan. Wait. If I attack from here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm not going to be able to get there. Yeah, let's hold this. Oh, I already spent it. So before we move, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. I moved here. 1, 2, 3, 4. Geez. Yeah, launching my planes was a bad idea. All right, I'll stick like this. Whatever. So that's my orders. Not terribly helpful. Now, I don't have to continue making orders, right? So, we go to the red player. Now, the red player does want to do stuff. And we want to get things moving. So, my carrier group here, it's range 4 or 6. 1, 2, 3, 4. See, here's the thing. I could have launched the planes after movement. You know, I'm getting used to the game, so I'm kind of screwing things up left and right in terms of decision making. I'm going to move 3 stacks. That's my first action. Let's tilt these a little to indicate that I used them. Let's move 2 more stacks. Two more stacks. If I was willing to run noisy, I could get both of my subs moved. Now I've got a 3 stack movement card. I could launch an airstrike from that. Let's see how far I am. 1, 2, 3, 4. I could launch an airstrike on these destroyers with my 6-point plane. I don't know how terribly valuable that is, though. I only get 1 die, and they're going to get 4 dice in defense. That sounds dangerous to me. A search isn't going to do me any good, except maybe discovering something. So I'm going to hold this card. Now we go to housekeeping. Air unit basing, red's fine. Blue. Guess I dropped these back on the carrier. They don't have to go in the slots. Remember, I can land any plane there. Stacking's good, I hope. Victory point, well, it's the first turn, so we don't lose will yet. And now replenish hand. His hand size is 4. So he's going to get 3 new cards. Another local reinforcements. That's a nice card. Grave tactical error. Play to cancel an event from your opponent's played activity card as it's revealed. So that's a little different from normal. It's kind of a reaction card. And play during combat to force the opponent to reroll all his dice. Yeah, I like that. And then issue an order to each of your aircraft units. Again, I think I'm going to probably use that for orders. Over with the U.S. side, he gets 2 cards. Another UCAV replacements. Again, might be useful. Issue an order to a unit. Choose one of the following. If the ordered unit attacks, your opponent cannot play a battle card. Ooh. Or your opponent must discard 2 random cards from his hand. And that has a redraw. These redraw cards are kind of cool because they allow you to do another action. So if their event is in play, that makes a lot of sense. Unfortunately, the local reinforcements doesn't have that. The scramble doesn't have that. Well, scramble with K-29 replacements does. So that's kind of useful. All right, we'll take this up to turn 2. And take a little break here so my voice doesn't start coughing again. Okay, so we enter into the second turn. And one of the interesting factors that I'm beginning to see here, the way the sequence of play is aligned. So the red player moves first, but he attacks second. He gets the second operations phase, which gives a tremendous advantage to the blue player. Again, though, I need to close. Now, I'm going to launch my planes this time so that I remember they're on the map. And let's see where we can get. We want to try to seal off Hold on. There's zones. I gotta look at them for a moment. Yeah. Submarine and aircraft don't affect each other, but everything else does. So I gotta be kind of careful. If I move here, I gotta stop. And likewise here. Now, this is what's weird. I think you can move out of a hex that's adjacent, because the way this is worded is units must immediately stop when they enter a hex adjacent to an enemy unit. But there doesn't seem to be anything. No. Yeah. There doesn't seem to be anything that prevents you from leaving a zone if you're in it. I'm allowed to stack on these. I could move 6 with the one plane, but I don't want to do that yet. Particularly the carrier group here is kind of protected by these zones. It's going to be hard for the US to move into place. I could reveal this so I can move it faster, but I don't see that as being terribly valuable. Oop, this guy gets to flip over, and I can put another sub into place. And now I'm not sure which way to go. I'm going to head that way. Again, I'm not moving these suckers because they're just too far away from my carrier group to do much. Now, we go to the US movement. And I'm getting pinned in against the side here, so I'm going to have to engage. Question is how I want to engage. Well, let's launch my fighters. Hide the carrier because it's important. The plane's up there where they can strike. I'm not affected by the zone here because those are just planes, so I can pull back there. All right. And now we go to the blue phase where I could search for things. There's plenty of targets available, though. I don't see a particular reason to hunt for the submarines. What's this little white thing mean on the plane? It's in the combat rules. I know it's a bonus, but I don't remember quite what it is. An extra die. It looks like it's either on attack or defense. It's in any combat. So these are not my optimal targets. Well, let's see. Do we have any actions we want to play? If the ordered unit attacks, your opponent cannot play a battle card. That's kind of cool. Your opponent must discard 2 random cards from his hand. We're going to do that. We're going to force him. This is our one event, right? So our event's going to be issue an order to 1 unit and then choose one of the following. We're going to choose to force him to discard 2 cards. Well, the order has to be done first, and we're going to launch an attack with our sub. I'm going to use red dice for the attacker. Well, I'll use red dice for the Chinese. And the defender is going to get 3 dice in defense as well. Now remember, there's an advantage on attack. But at this point, there's the ability to play combat cards. I got lots and lots of dice that I can throw into play with this card. I'm going to use it because I can't use this for anything else. So that'll get me 3 more. Well, hold on. That's actually played face down because now the defender gets to play a card. Now, I'd like to protect my ships pretty obviously. I want to hold on to this card. It's kind of powerful. The problem is if I use my cards to protect my ships, I'm throwing away actions of my own, but I think I've got to kind of do this. I'm going to throw this card in, which will be giving me 2 extra dice. Cards are revealed at this point. So 3 extra dice for the US, 2 extra dice for the red player. In the US, these are actually only 5s and 6s hit, so I've got 2 blocks. 4 5s and 6s hit for them. So I've blocked 2 hits. I don't get any counterattack capability off of that. I would have had to have, I think, at least 2 successful dice. Blue played this as their event, so they get a replacement card. UCAV replacements again. Okay. So that was an order. I think that tapped this guy's 1 order. I've only got 3 units maximum to move, so I'm going to play the UCAV here to move me 3. And I got to kind of keep track of how many of those points I use. Alright, let's open up with a naval attack. Let's move these guys into here. Give them some support. And we're going to launch an attack here. That'll give me 4 dice to 3. And I can play a combat card. I kind of don't want to play this one unless I get damaged. Now, I can only play this during my event phase, though. That means I only get 1 such card. Maybe it's worth it for the 2 extra dice. I'm going to throw it in to give me 2 extra combat dice. Now, red again wants to defend themselves. I hate doing this, but I'm going to throw a card in. So that's 2 extra white dice, 3 extra red dice for the attack. Okay, that looks like 5 hits, 2 of which are canceled, 3 hits on the red player. Who gets to assign the damage? The defender gets to apply them. Okay. So what did we say? 3 hits, right? That's what it looks like. Well, 2 of them are going to finish off this ship. And 1 will be against, I'll take 1 of these, against this. And that looks like that's the end of that. I'd like to finish that off. Now, I only played 1 of my attacks, 1 of my actions from this card. Now I get the 2nd action, and I should probably mark this in some way because it's kind of hard to keep track of. Now, do I want to hit the DDG? Not really. Although it's damaged and it would be nice to sink it, I think what I'd like to do, because I've got some good airplanes here, is I'd like to conduct a counter air attack. 1, 2, 3, 4 to here. I'm going to launch an attack against these guys. Again, I have the option to play a card. I'm not going to do it. Red wants to defend their planes still, but they're running out low on cards. They're not going to be able to conduct any attacks if they use all their cards. I probably screwed up and should have played this card in that last battle. Let me do that. Let's go back, because this one allows a reroll of all the opponent's battle dice. He had 2, 4. Should have only had 4 dice. He played a card though. I think he had 6 dice. Okay. So this could be, because he had a pretty good result, and in this case he only got 3 hits, so with 2 blocks, that means there was only 1 hit total. We'll take this ship back and put the damage on there. So there's a lot less damage than I had, but I threw that card in there. Okay, so now maybe the planes don't want to go where they did. I don't remember where they're kicking around. I think they were here. Okay. Do I want to hit these damaged ships? No, I still want to go for the plane. This is my second action. 1, 2, 3, 4. We'll hit here. Now I can't send the UCAV off on its own or anything. So now, and actually that's was probably hidden. At this point I have only 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 dice. I need another die. Yeah, I'm picky about which dice I use in any given game. That one's not the right color. Slightly off. I don't know. I can't seem to get it right. Okay. So that's going to be 7 white dice. And the defense is better, these Soviet units. Now I have to be careful. I could have launched an attack with these destroyers at range 4, actually. They didn't have to slide up so close. I'm okay with where they are. Here, though, I have to be at range 1. So that's my 7 dice. These guys have 5 dice. And now I have the choice of getting an extra die for a card. That seems dangerous, to say the least. Or kind of not terribly valuable. But red, do they want to throw their last card? No, they'll also hold off playing a card. They want to get some hits in. Okay, well, the U.S. failed completely here. That's 2 blocks, but that only counts as 1 hit. The U.S. is going to take that hit on the UCAV. I don't remember if they can take... Ships take 3 hits, not 2, using the optional rolls. 1 hit destroys an air unit, so I'm going to take this on the UCAV. Now, this doesn't fully fill the box because I'm playing with the optional rules, so that's only half a box there. And I believe that's my second action. Now I have a third action off that card, and I'll slide my carrier group out of the way. A little further away. Alright. Now we're going to be on the red operations phase. And red only has 1 card here. I want to use it. It's going to give me 3 actions. And we're going to see what we can launch. So, kind of like to hit these planes. Knocking them out would do me some good. Unfortunately, these guys have a lot more dice against planes than they have against anything else. All right, let's try this. Let's have a range of 2, so I got to move 1 closer. I'm going to launch an attack from them. And that'll give me 3 dice. Now these guys are too far away to be able to do damage, I think. Yeah. So that's one advantage of the ships is they can kind of stand off to attack. So I'm going to have 3 red dice. Make it 4 because I've got a little white plane on there. Only 2 white dice. Blue is going to throw an extra die in, though, on defense. Red has no more cards. It's 2 hits, one of which is blocked, so one of my planes goes down, and that's a second plane in here. That box is filled. Okay. That was this squadron. Now I've got 2 more actions. I'm going to take 2 dice against his 1. You can see, without cards, it's not terribly valuable. Blue's going to hold on to their card for this. At least they can retrieve their UCAV on that. Ooh. It's a hit, but it's blocked. And then for my 3rd action, this has 3 dice. That's kind of nice against a plane at a range of 2. I'm going to launch an attack against this. And I said, the carrier doesn't get to throw its strength in because it has a range 0 attack, so it can't go in there. So that's going to give me 3 dice to 1 for the U.S. The U.S. could throw another card at this. I'm going to hold that card. Maybe a bad idea because I just took... Well, I probably couldn't have blocked it. So, this is here. That's the end of the action round. And now we go to air unit movement. The Chinese have to go first. Let's replace these things. We're going to go back and land on the carrier again. We've gotten our planes out. You know, honestly, these J-13Cs with their shorter range, you might have wanted to shift planes early in the turn to have a different bag of tricks available to you. Either more range with an extra J110 or J11D, or whatever the hell they stand for, or the more firepower with the 13Cs. Okay. And now the U.S. gets to pull its planes back, but unfortunately it's lost all its aircraft. So then we check stacking. Hopefully I'm good with stacking. This looks a little big, but that's a sub under there. Victory point phase. Well, at this point is when I'm going to drop the wills, because this is the first turn. I'm never sure where to put them exactly. I don't want to cover the number because, in particular with the hand size, it's somewhat important. Okay, and then we refresh the hands. I'm going to deal out some more cards. One thing to note, the rules don't state this at all, but it seems maybe an option that you'd want to add if you're playing with the Admiral level rules, the optional stuff. A sub like this that's already hidden, I don't think is able to hide again. It's not clear clear. Undamaged nuclear subs may revert to stealth mode. And when it does this, the owning player may also add a submarine dummy. I would say that you could do that even if you're in stealth mode, that you could just say, this spawns another dummy in the movement phase. I didn't do that on my turn for whatever reason. All right, that's pretty much the end of 2 turns, except I have to do that final card play thing, but we're drawing new cards. But I think that gives you an idea of how the game kind of plays. I'll continue on with this, but I want to get this video up at this point. Hey, my voice held out.